So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough.
All right, so we got a bit of an odd segment here from CNN, sort of a puff piece for Trump, if you will, and it's a little bit exaggerated in my opinion. Harry Enton, the apparent data guy for CNN, and they're going to go ahead and talk about the current state of Donald Trump's approval rating, and then we're going to slap some reality on that. So, without further ado, here we go.
I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit of reality check and take a little different spin at the numbers. I'm going to do that right here because all we talk about is how unpopular Donald Trump is. But in reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term number one and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. What are we talking about? His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won in November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And of course, that's so important because Donald Trump, historically speaking, has had his numbers underestimated. So I think it's very important to compare him to himself.
Yeah, underestimated in terms of like election day, difference in voter turnout, but not in terms of like approval rating. I don't know where he's getting that information.
Understand, he's actually more popular now than he was when he won, or certainly where he was at this point back in his first term. The bottom line is Trump is more towards the ceiling than he is towards the floor.
So when you do that, it makes my knees hurt. So when you look at this compared to sort of historically, what does it tell you about the percentage of folks that think the country itself, with him at the helm, is on the right track?
This, I think, is rather important because, again, if the polls have historically underestimated Donald Trump, what is a metric that might get at understanding at how popular he may actually be? So let's take a look at the percentage of the country who say that we're on the right track. It's actually a very high percentage when you compare it to some historical numbers. What are we talking about? According to Marist, 45% say that we're on the right track. That's the second high that Marist has measured since 2009. How about NBC News? 44%. That's the highest since 2004. Wow. The bottom line is the percentage of Americans who say we're on the right track is through the roof. And if you were to
all right, let's talk about that for a second. That number is absolutely, I'm not going to say it's fake. I'm not going to say it's phony. I believe that those are what people are feeling. I believe that the sentiment is false. And I believe that these the perception in these numbers, and look, if these are the same kind of numbers coming after like an Obama type election where there was this great perception of change about to be coming, based on how Trump based on how Trump positioned himself and the policies that he said he was going to do and the change that he said he was going to bring and make everything better, the end of inflation, the end of, illegal immigration and, secure borders and new manufacturing boom in the United States. And, all these promises that he's making and has made that will, in my opinion, evidently fail due to the just pure incompetence of this administration, this regime, if you will. Very quickly, people are going to start feeling the pressure of the sort of fascist nature of this administration. They're going to realize that they were duped. They're going to realize that this is not there's nothing real beneath these people. And that perception of change is very quickly going to go away. I don't like the fact that they report these things like this without sort of giving this context, this necessary context. It's one thing to feel a certain way, and I understand that people feel that they have a person in charge who is active and being aggressive and making a lot of things and changing things. People want change. They're tired of the status quo. They're looking for change. They perceive change, but it's the wrong kind of change, and that's the unfortunate thing. It's all of the worst people that are in charge right now, all of the worst people that have broken the system in the first place to, on steroids at this point. And to think that they're going to make things significantly better for the average person, to expand the middle class, help the poor, help the old, help the needy, and etc. None of that's going to happen. Middle class is going to continue to shrink. Rent prices, wages are going to continue to stagnate. Rent prices are going to continue to go up, etc. Because these are the same policies of all of these failed administrations. So
compare it to when presidents have historically been reelected. Of course, Trump is not constitutionally eligible to run for reelection, but I think it sort of puts it in perspective. 42% of the country says the country is on the right track when the incumbent party is reelected. And also keep in mind, back when Kamala Harris lost and the Democrats were turned out of power, only about 27 to 28% of the country said the country was on the right track. The bottom line is right now, a much higher percentage of the country says we're on the right track. And finally, Sarah Seidner, I want to...
Again, it all makes sense, right? And this is not, liberal cope or whatever. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm just calling it like it is. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were the ultimate establishment candidates. They represented exactly what the system has been and would be. And people are tired of that. They don't want the same old. They want something different, right? And so to see that increase in that kind of a sentiment with that number, that reporting on that poll, that makes sense to me.
Put it all in the congressional generic ballot.
What about Congress? No.
What about Congress? Because those are the folks who are up.
What about Congress? Well, we'll see where things are at in a couple of years. So that being said, they're painting this rosy picture, this rosy perception of Trump. Oh, his approval rating is the highest it's ever been. Well, I don't know where Harry's getting his aggregate. I assume he's got a good system or whatever. When you look at other aggregates, the trend seems to be pretty clear. And it seems to be that, yes, on the day that he was elected, he was a net popular. I don't know who these people are. I do know who some of these people are. I don't know. I don't understand these people a lot of the time. But Trump was positive by 6 points in his approval. I think it was one of the first times I'd ever seen him positive, to be honest, on like a net average. And just look how, it's been what, two months, and he's already gone negative on the aggregate. He's already underwater in the approval. And I guarantee you, this is only going to continue. Pretty much as a steady trend, depending on how disastrously things go. Of course, you have some outliers. Rasmussen is a notoriously bad pollster. And interestingly, Atlas Intel, who was honestly the most correct when it came to predicting the outcome of the last election, has Trump at -5, pretty much before a lot of other pollsters. RMG Research, I have no idea what they're doing with their methodology. Absolutely sickening propaganda happening there. And then some relative, I don't want to say consistency. They're a little bit all over the place, but you do see more in the red than you do in the blue or green as of late. So that being said, on average, Trump now net negative, according to this Real Clear poll average. And then, again, when it comes to the economy, Trump not doing so well. Trump historically positive on the economy. This time around, not the case. Has yet to convince the voters that he is the guy for the job with regards to getting the economy straight. A majority of voters disapprove of Trump's early job performance on the economy. 54% disapprove, 44% approve. How is he handling inflation? Pretty much the same. Economy, inflation, a lot of people thinking hand in hand these days. So there you have it. A little bit of the polling, a little bit of the polls. Let me know what you guys think. The story is pretty clear for me. I see the incompetence. I see the disastrousness that is this administration, this regime, these these horrible people. And God help us see how this goes. But my prediction is that for Trump and them, it'll be downwards for the foreseeable future. Let me know what you think. See you in the next one.